right, music fans, welcome back. It is I, Dave, the real music observer, observing real music in real time for real people just like you right there, and me here. Today I'm talking about the war on Randy Meisner, a former Eagle who finds himself in some pretty uh, bad health these days. And, uh, the guy's had a life of a lot of substance abuse and alcoholism and so forth. And it's funny because the Eagles intervened with Joe Walsh. They had basically had Felder go get him and say, "Hey, you want to be a part of this huge tour? Then sober up, buddy." And Joe Walsh did it. Now the thing with Randy is Randy chose to leave, and when you choose to leave the Eagles, um, it's kind of like bye bye. They had Tim Schmidt lined up probably before Randy had left the building, and Randy and Tim, were good friends, so it made sense. And hey, it's the Poco farm team. Let's go grab another guy from this super talented pool. They never tapped on anybody else like Paul Cotton or Rusty Young, though, because those guys would have probably played circles around Henley and Frey. Ooh, did I say that out loud? Check out Paul Cotton, man. He's another dude I need to do a video about, and I will. I'll be doing a Paul Cotton video soon enough. Randy Meisner started his career with a band called The Poor, because as Don Felder says, they were. So Randy was broke at the time, and of course then Poco came along, and Rick Nelson and Linda Ronstadt. And an interesting thing about Randy Meisner is he plays bass on James Taylor's song Country Road on Sweet Baby James. That's a pretty cool thing. He was in a group called Black Tie in the 80s, kind of a one-hit wonder thing. Didn't get a lot of airplay, though, and that's what I'll be talking about. Meisner, Swan, and Rich was another group, which is another offshoot of Black Tie. Rick Roberts, too, from Firefall. So Randy, was with the right people. It's the record labels and these executives that just screwed Randy, as far as I can tell. They make him record an album because he decides to leave the Eagles. There's this clause, make us an album, or you can't, do anything else with your life. And he did, and it's a pretty good album, even though it's everybody else's music. It's a lot of outside writers and cover tunes. Save the Last Dance for Me. Bad Man was written by Glenn Frey. It's not bad. When we get to the 80s, though, things start to get interesting. Randy gets on the radio. He's got two top 20 songs, one with Kim Carnes. It's a nice duet, Deep Inside My Heart, and Hearts on Fire, which is just a killer song if you haven't heard it. Have you heard it lately? Probably not. Have you heard the Kim Carnes duet? No. Here's the guy who sang Take It to the Limit, and he was the only guy who could have accomplished that feat with the Eagles, and nobody's marketing and promoting the guy. Everybody's just kind of like, oh, it's Randy Meisner. Really? Because have you heard that song at all? Because it's an amazing song. And for him to have to do it live, which Randy struggled with, it's one thing to go grab that note in a studio. It's another thing to have to do it before thousands of screaming people who expect you to hit that high note. And it's pretty amazing. His voice was absolutely astonishing. Something you may not know, Randy did a duet with Ann Wilson from Heart. The tune is called Strangers. Heart's producer worked on Randy's next solo album. It was just called Randy Meisner. Features Randy singing Never Been in Love, which, again, phenomenal song. And by the way, this is Randy's best work as a solo artist. This entire album from start to finish fits the time period well, holds on to the country-ish roots, but puts a little bit of a gloss on it, and just really good job by, I think his name is Mike Flicker, is the guy who produced it, and he was Heart's guy for a long time, producing a lot of their stuff, and he brings Ann and Nancy Wilson over. Nancy does background on this song, and Ann, who again, if you look at, say, like Mike Reno and Ann Wilson, you've got a quality duet there. Of course, I think that was in a movie as well as a movie soundtrack song. But do you think if you're Epic Records, you don't release this song and push the crap out of it? I mean, Hart was struggling at the time, so this would have been a great way to get Ann out there some more. And Randy, I mean, this is like the Titan vocalists here. You've got Ann Wilson and Randy Meisner, and we're not going to promote the song. It's just one of those things. You just think to yourself, why? Of course, there was a bit of a hiatus. I talked about Black Tie, but then the Poco thing happens again, where Randy goes back with all of the original members of Poco, and they do this legacy album with Richie Furay and all the original guys, Jim Messina, and Richard Marx is doing some of the production on it. And there's this other great ballad called Nothing to Hide. And it got a lot of airplay. I think it charted on both the rock and the top 40 charts, but I haven't heard it. I haven't heard it since. I mean, you can find it on a Poco compilation somewhere. It's out there. That album, by the way, needs to be re-released, remastered, and so forth. The Legacy Poco album. It's just phenomenal. It's amazing. And that's it. It's just this constant war on the guy. Now the guy sits in ill health. He asked to come back with the Eagles in '99. They said no. The Eagles said okay in 2013, but at that point, Randy was in such rough shape. You know, Randy was reaching out to like Irv Azoff, and Don Henley has called Irv Azoff Satan. He's called him that, but he says, hey, he's our Satan. So Don Henley is just a weird dude. Yeah, I'm going to shop my wares over to Walmart, even though I can't stand anything about Walmart. And then you justify it by saying, well, Walmart's really doing a good job cleaning up the environment. Really? Okay. I guess if the money is right and the distribution is as good as that, then you can justify anything. I don't have a problem with selling stuff through Walmart, but I wouldn't think Don Henley would be the guy, you know, marketing his stuff through Walmart, but he found a way to justify it. Look, Randy Meisner is a treasure. He's an American vocalist who's had just an amazing career, starting out with this band called The Poor and winding up basically in a really rough place these days. He's 72 years old. I had somebody contact me from Italy and say, what is wrong with Randy? He looks like 10 years older than everybody else who's in his peer group. And substance abuse, depression, drug abuse, it's taken its toll. Randy, I think, would have been a lot more productive if somebody from Eagles Nation did the same thing for him that they did for Joe Walsh back around 1992 or so. They decided that Randy was not important. I mean, he had really one of the Eagles' best songs, if not the best song the band ever did, and that was Take It to the Limit. So, the war on Randy Meisner, I don't know what you think. I think the guy was given the short end of the stick too many times, and nobody reached out to help him. He had such a great voice, and he's described by everybody who he's come in contact with as being this gentle, wonderful soul. So, that's my video. I'm Dave. I'm the Real Music Observer. I'll be back observing more real music in real time for real people, just like you right there, just like me. Talk to you then.